of the 20th century, this Brazilian poet, facing the reality that is not peculiar to that time only, because it's a universal reality, he encapsulates the moment in our life when we feel that there is a halt, we are come to stop. And we know that it's a universal reality of man because he has chosen to start with the word stop, which is a universal language. And upon the realization of this moment in our life that we are going to be facing emptiness, we as human beings have two choices. Either discover what is happening, how am I reacting, why and what for, or continue in illusion by thinking, was it the optimal one? So it should be going automatically, by instinct, by habit, by repeating my past mistakes without having the real conscience of it. Zero quota is the moment in our life when we see that there is nothingness. We see that there is emptiness. There is resourcelessness, voidness, helplessness, meaninglessness, blindness, loneliness. I have lost everything. I have lost myself. This is the absence in my life that forces me to see and feel the. There is a time in my life, as in everybody's life, no matter space and time, that there is a death of a beloved one. There is a surprising illness. There is an unexpected divorce. There is a loss of a stable job. There is a failure in a decisive decision that I've made. You may name it what happens. But that's the time that we feel that we are in a void and we are blind. As an archetype, mainly in our doctrine, we talk a lot about Tarsus, Paul, Saul, and his blindness. That's the very start moment that he felt the presence. When he had to close his eyes, his physical eyes, to start an internal journey to see more. This is very common. Since Oedipus the king, he was not able to realize that he was lying down with his mother after crossing the road because his physical eyes deprived him from seeing it. After he realized that, he blinded himself and he started journeying, wandering journey, because he realized that from that moment on, he was going to see the permanent reality. We have different, as spiritists, we know that we have one inner self, but we have a different time and space that we call reincarnation. In every time and space, we have a different pair of eyes. Ironically, they are there for us to see, but there are times that there is something in us, we're going to see later, that's called ego, that deprives us from this possibility of really touching, feeling our eternal, permanent self, which goes through all lives on earth, and also when we are not, we are disconnected. Generally, our reactions, and we have to start thinking why we react like this. Why has it happened to me? Why do I deserve it? What have I done? Why has God allowed it? I have not finished yet. Why they have placed a period, like a punctuation? May I still have a chance to change it for a comma instead? Because would you like to continue somehow, right? Now, when we start asking this question, we have to say, what kind of personality in this life, in this opportunity, I've been developing? What kind of ego I've been developing? When I say, why has it happened to me? What am I expressing here? Is it lack of humbleness? That I cannot admit that I myself can be the subject of this occurrence? Is it arrogance? Is it lack of resignation? So, isn't it more important to ask what for than why? Whenever I'm talking about why, I'm not solving, I'm not driving, I'm not gearing myself. When I say what for, oh, there must be something here for me to learn, something here for me to discover about myself, to discover about how I react. I have to pay attention to the questions that I posed. I'm saying, why has God allowed it? So, am I trying to blame? I'm trying to find a scapegoat, a way out. Am I trying to get to the point and say, oh, was it the automobile? Not to face my own reality, as in the poem. So, there is this sentence in this video, Choices We Made. Yes, sometimes by wrongly exercise our free will, we place a period instead of a comma in our lives. Right? And it's up to us to change. That is what we call the inner transformation. Right? Perhaps it's a time for a semicolon, a time for just a colon, or suspension line, but not really a period. But this period was necessarily, and if I didn't put it myself, it was put for somebody else. It has to do with either trials or expiations, because it is a blessing moment in my life, because I'm going to be understanding a little bit more my eternal being by feeling the presence. Whenever I go to my eternal being, I'm reaching God. I'm understanding a path. What lessons can be derived from such a realization of our zero code? By analyzing my most common reactions and questions upon facing and experiencing such apparent accidents in my life, what can I find out about myself? If I think it's accidental, it's because I forgot or I misunderstood the cause and effect. It's because it's not in me, in my daily life, that the world has a purpose. There is always an intention. There is no room for accidental occurrence. There is no room for coincidences. Right? Everything is moved by a cause, but I'm not able to understand the cause because I'm still thinking about the automobile. I prefer to think that it was the automobile that stopped. Let me postpone to analyze my life. Right? How can I learn lessons and discover myself in a different way? Should I have to face a point of coming to a halt to start thinking? We know that in our spirit books we have St. Augustine giving us, I'm going to cover a little bit later, very simple thing to do daily that is not so much tragical or dramatic that we don't pay attention to it. We just say we have to review what we have done, but how? What? With whom? Whom can I reach at such a moment of struggles? Whom can I follow? Oh, we know. We have questions 6 to 5. Is there any perfect model that's going to be ensuring your happiness? Oh, we know. We know who to follow. Right? When did my parents, my teachers, my friends showed me how to deal with them? Has it happened in your life one day in school or in your home that your parents are talking about this? Or you just see life go through, but rationalize with you? Is there any discipline at school that teaches? Is there any moment that we are talking about this? Of this learning process? Or it's up to us to learn forcibly? And why we haven't created so far in our upbringing process moment of teaching this? Oh, because children are not able to? No. Mr. Brunner, one of the greatest education, he says everything is taught to everybody. It depends on how you adapt the language. We may teach philosophy, psychology to a child for children. It's like in a spiral. We have a lot. Do you know how we learn? Do you understand that whenever we read a book, or whenever we attend a workshop, or we go to a congress, or you see a film, there is a message trying to enter our mind and our heart, to break our structure, and to reconstruct in a different level? Oh, Mr. Piaget, psychologist, he used to say that in a learning process, I have two things. I'm going to be demolishing what I know and rebuilding in another level by two mechanisms. The new component is going to be either make me adjust my concept or accommodate something that I haven't thought of yet. And I have a void, a space in my mind. Just placing it. So when you say, what is a divine law? Perhaps nobody talked to me when I was a child. Or my friends, they didn't talk about divine, but divine is something detached. Okay, it's called the natural law. And that's the only one that guarantees that you're not going to suffer. And whenever you deviate from it, you go away, you're going to be triggering a suffering process. So that's not so difficult. And where can I find it in my conscience? Is there a conversation about this? Or is it just in the realm of a doctrine, in a space and time of a study? Why you haven't learned this that is so natural? Right? Who do I count upon to proceed? What resources are available? So this is top that we have in our life. It is nothing more than think, observe, and proceed. But you have to think, and you have to proceed. You don't have to shift or keep eluding yourself, or eluding myself. So we have to start thinking and saying no to our ego. What is our ego? It is the idea that I construct about who and what I am. So every incarnation, I have a different ego, but I have the very same self. My self is an evolution. Perhaps my previous incarnation, if I was interviewed with my eyes, with my ears, and my knowledge at that time, the idea that I had conscious about me was different, right? And our ego, this idea that we construct, take us farther and further away from our inner and eternal self. That's why at this moment of nothingness, I say I've lost myself. It is time to resume. It is time to meditate. It's time to repent. For us to understand a little bit and discover more, if I am what I have, and I'm not talking about cars only, house, yacht, I'm talking about a title. I'm talking about a position in my company. I'm talking about a leadership role. I'm talking about my highest education degree. If I am defined by it, my possessions define me. I'm reducing myself to an ego. I myself, I can tell you that it took me a while to understand that I was dependent on my corporate title. I've been 11 years vice president of a region. And when I used to say my name, automatically the name came. Because it's just like the business card. And when I left everything, it was so difficult to be in the void, so difficult to be anonymous. Because I was very accustomed to entering trade shows. When I entered trade shows, being the VP of a hotel chain for a huge region, Latin America, Caribbean, Mexico, I had reporters. I had people applauding. I have competitors paying attention. How was the booth? What was the strategy of this guy to present the new product? Because this was my possession. I was dependent on this. The other thing is, if I believe that I am what I do, who is defining me is my achievements, there will be a time that I will not be able to do. I'm going to be very old, deprived of strength, with poor sight, with difficulty of walking, and who's going to continue defining me? So sometimes we have lots of jobs, lots of occupations, lots of responsibilities, and I'm defining on what myself or I do. If I am what others think of me, which is really, really dangerous, who is defining me is my reputation. My ego is taking me further and farther from my essence. I am separate from everyone, from God. I feel self-sufficient. I don't need people. I'm breaking the law of cooperation. I'm breaking the law of progress that requires cooperation. But I have this belief of self-sufficiency. For sure that life has come to a halt. Somebody has to stop me. Otherwise my pathway is suicidal. Right? By allowing our ego to determine our life path, we deactivate our capacity to realize the purpose and intention of all things. We believe that we control. Have a look of how, try to think of ourselves, each one here, right? If I don't have this feeling of being a learner, and a perpetual learner, it's because my ego is telling me, you know enough. You have the last word. You're going to be determined how the meeting is going to be held. You're going to be closing it. You are the one that's going to be doing the prayer. Because you know how to ask, you know how to praise, and you know how to thank God, and you know how to experience His silence. The other people, they're still learning, they're in the cradle. Right? Or, if my will prevails of all things, perhaps I say, how come they haven't taken into account my thought? I've spoken twice, and they didn't pay attention to me. So I have to discover something that's happening with my ego is setting a trap that's going to be leading me to a stoppage one day. Right? Perhaps I have a lack of respect for the divine laws, or demand of satisfaction guaranteeing all expectations. I'm all the time requesting and requiring full satisfaction because I deserve full satisfaction. I cannot be halfly met. My goals cannot be halfly met because it's me. Right? Feeling an attitude of omnipotence. I think that I can do everything. I'm not able to delegate, even in my house. I am the one that has to do it because I'm the one that put the time, I'm the one that I know, I'm the one that I'm the strongest one. I believe that I cannot be the weakest one. Right? Prominence of pride, vanity, and prejudice, because I'm saying that people that are not able to keep line with me, because I've already set myself apart, an egocentric, arrogant, conceited, high-handed, and haughty attitude. And for sure, I love to control things. I need control. If possible, excessive control. Because it's my ego is setting itself or lying down on this structure that I believe that I am like God. So I need control. If things are out of control, I will not survive. Lack of humbleness and humility, an acceptance of the concept of life as a service, because I have worked a lot, so people have to serve me now. I've already done in my past the serving job. Now it's time to be served. Right? To have the best chair, to have the best focus, the spotlight. Right? Absence of limits or boundaries as to desires, wish, whims, and caprices. Because what we think that is a need is no longer a need. My ego veils. What I'm talking about is no longer a need, it's caprice, it's whims. It is really superfluous. It is really superficial. But I believe that is a strong and genuine need, because it's not coming from myself, it's coming from my ego. Frequent irritability, anger, hate, and wrath. Everything makes me lose control and speak harshly. It becomes every day. So if we are very, very vulnerable to these kind of feelings, our ego is getting to the point of a halt. Okay? Constant anxiety, tiredness, fatigue, sadness, and depression. Because I'm exhausted. I'm full of myself. If I'm full of myself, there is no room for you and for God. Because it's all by myself. It's very difficult to talk to you, because your words, they do not enter my mind. My mind is defensive, is imposing, is prevailing. There is no conversation, there is no midterm, there is no negotiation, or there is no compromise from my side. Because the world should compromise, not me. So let's continue here to see. We have to abandon this part of, now that I know that I have all these things to correct, I cannot be eternally self-judging myself, self-condemning myself, self-punishing myself, self-pitying myself, and doing self-denial, because I'm going to be stopped. Life goes on. So we have to start adopt all these selves here to get our inner self. Right? Self-knowledge, perception, acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, self-education, and all these selves that you have here, until getting self-transformation, self-elimination. It's very difficult for an egocentric person to go through this process. Because from the starting point, I don't need it. Psychology is not for me, it's for sick people. Isn't it funny that I think that I'm not sick? If I'm not sick, why should I reincarnate it? By definition, if I'm here, there's something wrong. But I don't have to be a doctor to know that. Right? If you're telling me that I have to come here to learn, and this is a purification process, a progress process to reach God. So if I'm here, by definition, I have something wrong. So let's find out what is wrong. Right? That's why discovery towards health, does it? Okay? So, indeed, it's not the automobile that you're talking about. Now, in the Spirit's book, they'll have this question: what's the most effective means for improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil? A sage of antiquity has told you, know thyself. And then Kardec goes a little bit deeper. He says, okay, I have to know myself, but which are the means that I have available here? So by what means can we do so? In St. Augustine, you're going to see that he's going to say, if you daily, you don't have to come to the point of losing a beloved one, of losing your job, of getting to know that you have cancer. But if you just say, have I failed any duty today that I had to do that I didn't do? Has anybody had reason, sorry, it's two, to complain about me? Why have I done it? To find out what moved, what part of my ego moved into this action. Would I blame others if they have done the very same thing? Okay. Why would I not dare to profess it? So, I want to be talking about what I did, or I prefer to hide it? Would I cower before anybody's gaze if I pass away now? So if people look at me in the spirit world, I'm going to be, woo, right? So this is a very didactical step. I mean, it's so simple, right? So have I, not has I, my mistake. Have I been against God, my neighbor, myself? Is it a repose, a rest of my conscience? Or I'm excited, I'm anxious, I'm feeling guilty, I'm troubled, or if there's something boiling inside, I don't have to follow Buddhism, to follow Judaism, to follow Spiritism, but if there is something boiling inside, you are not in peace, there is an area of self-discovery and improvement. There is an area of healing that you should be addressed. Okay? Now, have some spirits been created good or other evils? We have this in this question, and if you pay attention, we're simple and ignorant. We're going to be aiming at enlightenment through knowledge of the truth. So there, in this answer, you say that we have to know. And know how, right? And you have in John's, in Matthew, if you hold to my teaching, you know the truth. And it's going to be free in you. You're going to feel liberty, not disturbance, right? And love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Oh, so I have to love with three things. With the heart, with the soul, and with the mind. Have you ever thought of these three things? It's not only necessary I love with the heart, but if I don't love with the mind. Basically, the attachment to one's ego, our egotism, is the byproduct, secondary effect of our ignorance. Because we don't know that we have to know the truth with our mind, to feel the truth with our heart, there is a T missing, and live the truth with our spirit. So these are the three mechanisms that we have to exercise. Sometimes we're good in one and not good in another one, right? He said we have to develop morally, intellectually, right? If I'm developing intellectually, understand intellectually love, I'm feeling with my mind. I can recognize that you are brother, that you are a human being with the very same mistakes that I have found out in myself. Consequently, there is a mirroring process here, an opportunity to grow together, because we're not going to be making the very same mistake too. So, the mistake that I have, and I'm going to be learning, may be for you as well, an opportunity for you to learn. So let's find out our strengths and our weaknesses and put together, because we have to cooperate. Right? So we do need, and coming back here, it is love the Lord, your God, with your heart, your soul, and your mind. When you don't do this, it's because our ignorance is leading us to cultivate our ego. And whenever we cultivate our ego, you cannot serve. And whenever we cultivate our ego, you cannot transcend. You cannot love. Not even yourself. Because if we love ourselves, we go to our self and not destroy our ego. We have this veil, this illusion, this myopia to understand. So what do we actually need, right? Ignorance can only be overcome through spiritual growth, which requires exercise of love, acceptance, humbleness, tenderness, and meekness. If you think of humbleness, tenderness, and meekness, you're not talking about the ego. You're talking about the self. Right? Because you don't need exterior things for you to tie with, or for you to support your body, your being, your soul on. You don't need the title, you don't need the job necessarily, you don't need. All the things that you're doing exteriorly is circumstances. They are context. They are one lifetime shot screen of my whole life. So, strenuous self-restoration, self-transformation. It's working hard. Continuous effort, if possible, continuous. Continual, it is on and off. Continuous, it is permanent. Most of the times in our intentions, we are on the continual side. Oh, there are 3 months that I don't do this. Then I have to resume, start doing it. Right? Or you're going to be calling a friend that you haven't seen for 6 months. Or you're going to be coming back to the book that you think is going to be helpful for you 3 weeks later. Because you are in continual connection. But the idea, what we call in Portuguese, orar e vigiar, right? You have to pray and be vigilant. It is continuous, not continual. Right? And discipline, patience, and perseverance. Now, what is meant, there's a team, by natural law, and this is it. We know that it is the law that guarantees my happiness. If I deviate, I'm going to be suffering. It is my conscience. Okay, let's explore. So spiritual re-education, reattachment to, and reconciliation with the divine essence of the self. We have to re-signify, we have to redimension or reassign a different signification to our life process. Reinterpretation of what we are doing, be it in a very tragic situation or in a daily time. Right? All vital manifestations, be them appreciative or adverse, are the very same invitation to the awakening of the internal Christ, the divine essence that dwells in our innermost self. Whatever happens to us, even when we say shit happens, whatever happens to us, it's an invitation to rediscover. Stop and think, how am I feeling now? Why am I reacting this way? Okay. So, let's go here. We're just about finished because we're going to have like 5 minutes. If there is any question is, if we reincarnated, let's just follow this thought which is very lineal. If we reincarnated, it's because we still need further development. If we reincarnated, it's because we still bear residues of ignorance. Right? It's because we still lack broad and deepened awareness. We have to access our conscious more often. It's because we still have bad habits and we cause damages. It's because we still disregard the 2 greatest commandments, which is loving God and loving the other as you love yourself. Right? It is because we still detach ourselves from the divine laws. It is because we still suffer upon undergoing trials and experience. The situation of zero quota here. Right? It's still a misunderstanding of the purpose of life. Right? If we reincarnate, it's because we still forget that all is intended to be. Nothing's accidental. Right? If we reincarnate, it's because we're still spiritually sick. So, coming here, we know this book. This is free translation that I've done. It is necessary to acknowledge that all of us, incarnate and discarnate spirits, while servicing on earth, so there is no way out. We have to service. Right? Due to the amount of debts owed previous in existence, we are still sick people. In a strenuous process of restoration, we are sick people begging for discharge. Right? If we are sick people begging for discharge, how come that we are still developing egoic or egocentric attitudes, and beliefs. Right? So this is a very short message here as an invitation to self-discovery, self-transformation. And with this question, are we willing to be assisted now, or will we leave it for later once again? Okay? Thank you so much.
Wow.